So it's no secret that after finishing your first playthrough of Dragon's Dogma 2, the interest of going through the same motions again are pretty low. And I think the main issues the player base are facing right now can be sorted into three categories. Number 1, the lack of a hard mode option. Number 2, enemy variety and density. And number 3, a proper endgame experience. And I promise you, before the end of this video, I will provide you with at least one reason to return to the game and make it a more enjoyable experience. Now, these problems can easily be solved with mods, and since we haven't gotten any meaningful updates yet targeting these issues, mods are carrying this game hard right now. But I wanted to do things differently for this video. Instead of simply providing tools to remedy these shortcomings we are experiencing when playing the game, I want to change the way we approach these problems so that we resolve these issues at a core level. That way, this video can be helpful across all platforms without neglecting parts of the community. Personally, I come from a decade on PlayStation before I got my first PC. So I totally get how frustrating it is to not have access to mods. Alright, let's start off with the difficulty problem. For many players, this is reason enough to stop playing the game after their first playthrough. And trust me when I say I've been there as well. But the mentality to limit ourselves simply because of the absence of a difficulty slider will greatly diminish your experience with the game, since it has so much to offer once you step out of your comfort zone. In Dragon's Dogma 2, the vocation you're using will play a huge part in how difficult the game feels, more so than similar games, since here we don't have a dedicated dodge button for every playstyle, and every vocation presents a vastly different experience. So here's what I want you to do. Make a list of all the 9 vocations in the game, and rank them in terms of how much you played them during your first playthrough. Now take that list and start a new playthrough with your least played vocation. For most of you, that's probably gonna be Trickster. So take the next vocation on your list, and simply by walking out of that comfort zone, you are giving yourself a completely new experience. It will also be harder, and you will be forced to create new approaches to combat when it comes to positioning, how to attack weak points on bosses, and figure out how to play this new class efficiently. I did this recently with the Sorcerer vocation, and I can honestly say that it was one of the most fun experiences I have felt in a long time. And I strongly urge you to let go of your save files, guys. It's not really that important to keep your inventory in this game, since the best equipment is readily available in shops anyway, and you definitely don't want the extra levels when starting a New Game Plus, since enemies currently aren't scaled at all during the New Game Plus cycle. And once you have deleted your first save, it's gonna be much easier to do it again the next time around. Another huge factor that determines how challenging the game feels is of course the use of pawns. And that's partly why I feel it's so hard to determine the game's difficulty, since having a full party of strong pawns can trivialize most of the game's enemy encounters. And at the same time, playing the game solo can make it incredibly difficult at times, especially with the new stagger mechanics introduced in the sequel. Another added challenge going solo provides is the fact that you will be having a much harder time managing your encumbrance, and the longer journeys will require proper planning to be successful. In turn, the added weight your pawns aren't carrying for you anymore will reduce the speed of stamina regeneration and your ability to sprint during combat. And without the constant help of a healer, you need to rely on crafting and making frequent camps to restore your health. And although Dragon's Dogma have the use of pawns integrated in the story of the game, the combat is actually balanced well for solo play. But if you absolutely want to keep your pawn around, you can give them less offensive spells and maybe just a couple of defensive skills and healing spells, so that enemies mostly will target the Arisen, and that way your pawn won't reduce the experienced combat challenge. When it comes to difficulty, these two simple adjustments made a huge difference for me, and I would like to hear your experiences as well. Have you tried all the vocations yet? Are you playing with one or a full party of pawns? Or do you enjoy playing solo at all times? I think simply hearing other people's experiences can help out a lot here, and all your comments are appreciated. I rarely mention this in my videos, but I usually read and answer as many comments as I can, and I'm really grateful for the support lately, so yeah, you guys are the best, man. So we have talked about ways to increase the difficulty ourselves, but let's talk about enemy variety, and more importantly, how enticing it is to fight the different enemies in the game. What I like to do in Dragon's Dogma, and it's probably a bit strange, I like to upgrade all the equipment I find, even though I cannot use it on my current vocation. So after a couple of hours of adventuring, I return to town and upgrade all my weapons first, then the armor, if I have leftover materials. Then I switch to the vocation I have the best equipment with, and use that until I find better gear for another class again. This is incredibly rewarding and fun to do when I play on my own. But the point of why I'm mentioning this is that it all ties back to forcing yourself to fight different monsters. Dragon's Dogma have an interesting smithing system that almost works like quest boards in a way. Often, it's not even possible to tell what kind of enemy will drop the required materials, so you have to go out there and find out for yourself. And simply by letting go of the temptation to always check the wiki to find out exactly what you need to kill and where to find it, you're experiencing Dragon's Dogma 2 how it was meant to be played. And by playing this way, you will reward yourself every time you find that material drop you needed. And remember to revisit the same places you have explored during nighttime. You'll definitely find tougher battles, giving you more variety and better rewards. And finally, I want to talk about the current endgame in Dragon's Dogma 2, the Unmoored World. The first time I entered this realm, I had already heard rumors of how this world worked like a roguelike. So I rushed through the Unmoored World to beat all the bosses within the set time limit. Of course, back then we didn't know exactly how this worked, but now we know the mechanics of this endgame version of Dragon's Dogma 2, and that it's actually possible to stay here indefinitely if one wished to do so. This is how it works. You'll have approximately 10 to 12 in-game days to complete the quests before you receive a special game over cutscene. However, time only truly advances upon resting at an inn or dwelling in this world. That means if you can survive with the help of wake stones and all heal elixirs, you can stay in the Unmoored World as long as you like, exploring every part of the newly uncovered seafloor. The best approach would be to defeat all the prisoners, and before activating the last red pillar, create a hard save resting at an inn. Then you can explore and rest up to 10 times before you need to finish the final quest. Knowing this, I was able to fully enjoy the Unmoored World the second time around, and I hope this can help you guys to have a less stressful endgame experience as well. But yeah, these are my ways of enjoying Dragon's Dogma 2 again, and if you have any tips of your own, let us know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.